it. One last race. We'll have 10 laps of the Hockenheim ring to decide it all. At the moment, as things stand, if it was to finish as it has done at qualifying, and let me tell you, it will not, Virtus.pro would be in 4th position, Vitality would be in 5th, and Mouse would be the team going out of the Esports World Cup. It's not going to finish like that, though. I am absolutely sure. We have no idea. It's as open as it possibly could be. It's Marcel Chinchik on pole position. It's Darren McCormack alongside in the front row. Ellis Jr., Bedecker, Toman, Joniger the top 6. Let's get this race started then with 10 laps ahead of us. Down towards the first corner we're going to go with Chinchik taking the inside line as they head their way through. Bit of side-by-side there between Ellis Jr. and Bedecker, who goes to the outside of the first corner. Bit of contact between the pair of them, and Bedecker's going full send. He has to. He needs to for Mouse. At the moment, he goes around the outside, and this could be a critical move as they head their way out onto the backstretch and along the Parabolica.
The slipstream is going to be mega, though, on this run to the heaviest braking zone on the circuit. We've seen carnage before this, and we're 3 wide. Dennis Schoniger sandwiched between the 2 Aston Martins of Vitality, getting involved as well. Moritz Lerner, Yuri Kazdorp as well, sat idle in the background. We're nearly 4 wide to the heaviest braking zone on the circuit, and under pressure, Darren McCormack goes for the lead.
McCormack then to the front. It was 4 wide going into the hairpin. It's McCormack from Bedecker, from Chinchik. He's dropped back to 3rd from pole position for the 2nd time today. Can he hang on, though, as we go through the Mercedes arena section? He's onto the brakes on the inside. There's contact between the 2. Max Bedecker's been pushed off wide. It's going to open the door for Ellis Jr. to come through if they're not careful. There's more contact, and Bedecker goes round. Off the circuit goes Schoniger as well as they rejoin. It's Aston Martin first. It's Aston Martin second. It's Aston Martin third with McCormack, Chinchik and Ellis Jr. behind.
The powerhouse of Mouse, Maximilian Bedecker, one of the most successful drivers at the Hockenheim ring, plumb last in this race. And with it being a sprint race format, he's not got long left to recover. Darren McCormack now holds control at the front of the field, and by a healthy margin. Chinchik, though, is going to be under pressure from Kevin Ellis Jr. behind.
Now this begs the question, are Mouse on a one-way trip out of the Esports World Cup? At the moment, that is how it stands. Virtus.pro will survive, Vitality will survive, but we have completed just one of the very important 10 laps around here, and very importantly, it's a 1-second lead for McCormack. He's checking out. He's putting on that dominant drive exactly when he needs to.
McCormack is one of the most raw and passionate drivers out there. In terms of raw talent, definitely up there with the likes of Job, with the likes of Rogers. Sometimes that inconsistency lets him down ever so slightly. But right now, he is delivering just when he is needed the most. A slightly little look in the background as well as they all checking up into the apex of turn number 6. But look at the gap McCormack has out in front. This means that Ellis Jr. is free to fight with Chinchik.
Let me tell you this, if things were to finish as it stands, actually, oh no, I've done the math wrong. We'll ignore that for a second. Hold on, I've missed one bit. You carry on.
Lewis McGlade and his spreadsheets have never let him down until right now, ladies and gentlemen. He's going to be nerding away. Has he got an answer?
No, I've got an answer. Well, the answer is that Virtus.pro, I was thinking this out, Virtus.pro would actually be 3rd, which means they would be in the upper bracket for tomorrow. Critical for tomorrow's racing to be in that upper bracket. It gives you 2 chances of going through into the final. For Mouse, they would be at the moment 9 points. 9 points behind Vitality at the moment. Vitality are on 108, Mouse are on 99. It is critical for Dennis Schoniger to channel some of those online drives that he's had, to find his way past Ellis Jr., to find his way past Marcel Chinchik, to drag Moritz Lerner with him as well, because Max Bedecker at the moment isn't scoring anything, and he's 3 seconds behind even a single point.
Or at the least very hope the likes of Kevin Ellis Jr. put some pressure onto Chinchik, because that's going to flip some points in favour of Mouse as well. This is how tight the margins are at this level. Yes, fair enough, one of them are getting eliminated, but by no means would they be the worst team on this field. Each and every single one of the 6 teams that have participated today deserve to go through, potentially all the way to the finals. All of them have the capacity to win. We're going to take a look back, though. This was the drama at the Mercedes arena.
Bit of leaning there from Marcel Chinchik onto the side of Max Bedecker. Bit of leaning back as he was trying to rejoin the circuit, and further contact. Race control, 100% will be looking at that. You could say potentially Bedecker turned in there. You could say potentially Chinchik turned in here. You could say it's 6 or 10, half a dozen. the other, and Bennica not happy about it one bit.
Yeah, I think you're right on the money there. It's just one of those things with how high the stakes are, how high the pressure is. I mean, Bennica was going in. Chinchik obviously didn't want to give him much room on the exit, and then obviously when you had Kevin Ellis Jr. getting involved on the outside, it was always going to be a bit of a pinch point on that apex, and that was unfortunately what sent Bennica round. He is going to be pushing though all the way to the end because, well, so far in the first 3 laps we've seen carnage and chaos. Definitely almost guaranteed to happen in the last 7.5. We're about to tick off lap number 3 though. Dennis Schoninger closing in to Kevin Ellis Jr. He is Mouse's last saving grace, especially as well if he's able to get through onto the podium and maybe bring Moritz Lerner with it.
Well, don't worry, ladies and gents. Zach Sweeney's got the old race control sheet open. Should we require intervention from race control, we'll be able to see exactly what that adjudication comes down to, and we'll be able to update you as soon as possible. Important information though here: the gap for the race lead goes sub 1 second. Marcel Chinchik is charging. Technically speaking though, at the moment, he doesn't need to win.
Right, exactly. At this point, I mean, obviously there's going to be communication, and each teams have varying levels of communication based on what they sort of need and want as such. But right now, Virtus.pro and Vitality, as it stands, are going through. At what point do they sort of just look at each other, and obviously they can't physically do that. Maybe the engineers are going to look over their shoulder and sort of give each other a wink and just say, you know what, lads, we're both going through at this point. Why risk it? Of course, that does mean that them being slightly idle could open the door for Mouse to be slightly aggressive. Erhan Yuyovski, though, doing a brilliant job. One of his best results so far up there in 5th.
But this is why you have the coaches, this is why you have the team managers. For Vitality, they've got Mehdi, the team manager, and they've got Grigori, who's basically the coach of the team. He's the one communicating to the drivers. They'll be working out the points, they'll be working out the situation, they'll be keeping their eye on the race and how it's unfolding, not just for them, but for the other 2 teams as well. And basically taking that and working out what's worth fighting for. For Marcel Chinchik, he's taking a hefty amount of points. He's taking 20 points at the moment. Personally, for me, I think it's worth closing up to McCormack and then not worth fighting. For Yuyovski against Schoninger, 100% that's worth fighting. For Toman against Lerner, even more worth fighting. Mostly because you've got less, you're not scoring as many points right now. You've almost got like less risk.
Yeah, exactly, and also it's taking points even further, so you're digging the grave more and more for Mouse by taking more points away from them. You're putting them under more and more pressure. You're right, for Chinchik to close that gap, it means that he's there, he's ready, he's able to facilitate some form of an offensive maneuver should he need to, should he get that go-ahead, but right now he's not really in any position to do that if Chinchik and Vitality were in a position that they needed to do that. However, there's a look there to the inside from Dennis Schoninger on the inside of Kevin Ellis Jr. Promotes his way into 2nd place, but very momentarily the switchback is there as Kevin Ellis Jr. finds his way back through into 3rd.
Yeah, 3rd place then, Kevin Ellis Jr. Dennis Schoninger had the bit of a look down the inside. It didn't quite work out, but again, this is a very important move for Mouse. It won't be enough to grant their survival, but it is seriously important. Mostly, to be fair, for Dennis Schoninger, if he's able to get past Ellis Jr., it opens up the opportunity for him to maybe close down on Chinchik, and that could make sure that they survive here in the Esports World Cup. You can see there on the right-hand side of your screen in the inset, that's Yuri Kazdorp, who's currently running 8th position in this race, desperate to try and find a way past Yuri Toman. Again, the points in the group at the moment, it should be Virtus.pro on 123, Team Vitality on 108, and Mouse, the final of the 6 teams that's been in competition today. They'd be on 99 points and would no longer be competing in the Esports World Cup. 1 team will be out.
Half of this race left to go. We tick our way onto lap 6 of 10. McCormack leads from Chinchik after a sensational first lap from the Irishman, and now leads by a comfortable margin, though that gap once again sub 1 second. If Chinchik can get a whiff of slipstream, we know how strong that Aston Martin is in a straight line, albeit against the fellow Aston Martin. Kevin Ellis Jr. though, not a million miles away from Chinchik himself. Dennis Schoninger and Mouse are the ones that need to be the aggressors. Right now, Vitality and Virtus.pro, they're already mathematically going through, which means they can be a bit more reactive in this sense, whereas Mouse have to be proactive, they have to be making moves, and Yuri Toman is actually launching an offensive maneuver on Moritz Lerner to take even more points away from Mouse. Outside line through the hairpin, and of course the BMW is going to open the steering and push that Aston Martin wide.
Yeah, indeed. We'll have an update because there is something from race control. So we'll come back to that in a second whilst we see this racing unfold. Bit of contact as well as Erhan Yovski gets into the back. And here comes Moritz Lerner. Dennis Schoeniger's been backing up Erhan Yovski to try and allow his teammate to come through. He's trying to be the teammate he needs to be. Straight to the outside goes the likes of Erhan Yovski. Moritz Lerner to the inside as they go into Mobile 1. The number 20, they go side by side as they head through Mobile 1 down towards the Sachs curve. And it is Maus making the progress. Schoeniger doing exactly what he needed to do. And Lerner's come through to 5th.
In amongst all of that, Marcel Chinchik, a 1-second time penalty for that incident down in the Mercedes Arena section. Now, at the moment, that's not going to change things too much. But should this gap close again, should this pack get onto the back of them once again, it could drop him a couple of positions. And he's got to be careful as well not to pick up any track limits penalties or anything that could hamper the day even more. Moritz Lerner hit the curb at a wrong angle there going through turn number 1. That put him offline ever so slightly. Erhan Yovski, though, is looming large in his mirrors.
It's more important, though, than just the 1 second. It is 2 penalty points as well, which means the gap between Vitality and the gap between Maus comes down even further. In fact, I believe at the moment it is just 3 points.
That is absolutely insane. That is a change of position, and that makes this battle. Yuri Kasdorp on the back of Yuri Toman. Toman and Yovski on the back of Lerner and Schoeniger. Wojtek Fiala getting in the mix as well. But look for Thibaut Casabon, who is a driver that is not scared to make up positions in R1 competition. At the moment, sat in 10th, scoring 2 points for Vitality's efforts. He needs to be making some ground forward. Lap 7 of 10, time is running out.
Yeah, it really is. We are up against it, ladies and gentlemen. It is really ticking down, and it'll be super important for Lerner to try and back up Yovski, to try and back up Toman, to try and allow Kasdorp to work their way through. It's going to be very, very, very critical indeed. It's kind of one of those ones. You're watching this thinking, right, as a teammate, what more can I do? If you're Marcel Chinchik, what more can I do? All Marcel Chinchik has to do is focus on keeping that gap more than a second to Kevin Ellis Jr. Hopefully they'll, I'm sure they will, inform him of that to make sure that gap is 1 second. This is high drama, because if he drops back, Vitality are out.
The last race of the day, and it's coming down to the 3 teams in this race. Who comes out on top between the 3 of them? I don't think we could even written or dreamed of a better sort of turnout of this day. It's been filled with drama, chaos, and excitement from start to finish. It's been a long day, but it's been a worthwhile day for the Esports World Cup in 2025. The stakes of this race at the end of the competition could come and decide millions of dollars.
This is Moritz Lerner then to the outside as they'd work their way through. We're looking at Erhan Yovski at the moment. We're seeing a little bit of leaning between the pair of them. That's where Moritz Lerner forced his way through. But I will say there, Yovski chose to drive off the circuit. Moritz Lerner did not squeeze him off, so I don't think that's anything that will be required to have any analysis from race control. That said, I'm not in race control. I'm sure they will take a look regardless. There is 2.5 laps left to go to give you that final update on the points. Virtus.pro at the moment would be moving up to 3rd position. They've got 123 points to their name. Team Vitality with the 2 penalty points, they'd be on 104 at the moment, and Maus would be on 101. This is going to come down to the last few laps. It's going to come down to the last few moves. It is critical, but it is within reach for Maus.
What could have been if Maximilian Benneker was still in the shout of this race? He's closed the gap to Stasenko to 1.6 seconds. The recovery drive has been there for a previous drivers' champion of R1. If he can claw back even just a point on Stasenko, that would mean the world potentially to Maus's chances in this competition. It seems that Virtus.pro at the moment are pretty safe, but equally, if Maus or Vitality take more points off them, that could demote them into the lower bracket. So there are stakes for all 3 teams with 2 laps to go.
Who'd have predicted this coming into it? The fact that, I mean, look, we've got 6 fantastic teams that have been in competition today. One of them has to go home. And that's the thing, is that all 6 of these teams are good enough to get to the final. And that's what makes this race so painful, but also so exhilarating, so edge of your seat. And at the moment, we just don't know which way it's going to go. It is Maus at the moment that are on the precipice of going home. And Team Vitality here for Erhan Yovski could be making it that bit more painful. Defensive line coming in from Moritz Lerner. And here comes Yovski to the outside. If they're not careful here, it could open up the door for Yuri Kasdorp to come through. He looks down the inside, makes a bit of contact, and this is going to blow the door wide wide open.
They're in 2 rows of 2. It's Vitality versus Malves twice. Erhan Yuyovski has to concede to Moritz Lerner. Looks once more to the outside of the Mercedes Arena section as Yuri Toman tries to launch an attack on the number 4 of Kazdorp. Now as they exit, their run towards the out of the Mercedes Arena section towards the Mobile 1 curve. We've got a lap and a third left to go, and the points are close.
The points are close, but it swung. That move from Kazdorp was critical. At the moment, Mouse are surviving by a single point. Of course, that's provisional. Of course, race control have to look into it. And of course, we have one final 4.5 kilometer lap to deal with here at the Hockenheimring. Into the final complex they're going to go. Imagine the heart race between Mouse and Vitality at the moment. They are on the edge of proceeding in the competition. They are on the edge of going home.
They have got the weight of their entire team on their shoulders right now. They have got the fate of their championship on their shoulders right now. And one final tour of the Hockenheimring to decide it all, to decide who goes through to the bracket stage tomorrow for day 3 of competition. This is going to be the pivotal point of this race, this slipstream run towards turn number 6. Yuri Toman in the slipstream. This Aston Martin has been mega in a straight line. What can he do to the final heavy braking zone of the race?
The most important moves coming in. Erhan Yuyovski, Yuri Toman, they must make up a position. Like, it's now or never. The defensive lines come in, and here comes Yuri Toman. He's made contact a little bit, and he's opened the door. It could swing back the way of Vitality if Toman is able to complete this move on Kazdorp.
He had to give it a go. He was probably told to give it a go. Side by side, Kazdorp towards the Mercedes Arena section has the advantage. Let's see what Toman can do as he tries to go the long way round. He's got caught up though on the outside of the circuit. Bit of oversteer. Yuri Kazdorp hangs on. One final sector of this race.
It's been fantastic. It's been epic. It has been edge of your seat. It's been everything that Rennsport R1 needs here at the Esports World Cup. Darren McCormack is coming into the final sector to have a dominant victory here at the Hockenheimring. It's been a fantastic performance for him. It's been a fantastic performance for his teammate, but it has all fallen apart for Vitality. Yuyovski's had an issue as McCormack comes through the final corner to take victory for Virtus.pro, but it's all falling apart. Fiala's gone round. We'll come back to that in a moment. It's McCormack, it's Chinchik, it's Ellis Jr. And on the way home, it is Vitality. At the moment, provisionally, Vitality are out of the 2025 Esports World Cup. They were the runners-up last year, but it looks like the journey is over.
Oh my goodness me, that was edge of your seat stuff. I mean, we are even further than that. We are stood up in the commentary box. That sealed the fate of thousands of dollars for the R1 Championship. It could even have an implication for millions of dollars in the Club Championship.
Exactly. These 3 teams are competing for the Club Championship in 2025, and one of them is out. At the moment, it is Vitality. However, race control, I'm sure, will be looking at a whole heap of things throughout that race. There is a lot of